Hello and welcome back to Mindfulness Matters, a 6-part online demand series to help you stay present and help boost productivity in the workplace and beyond. Thank you for rejoining me for this session, and today we are going to look at having a recap on what mindfulness is. We're going to be looking at what mindfulness is and what that looks like in the body. We'll be looking at the importance of embodiment. We'll be going through a guided practice, and I'll be giving you some tips to take these practices back home with you. So a short reintroduction as to who I am. My name is Lily Parkinson. I'm founder of my company Umiani, where I am a nutritional therapist, a holistic and integrative coach working with EFT, NLP and CBT techniques, and also a Reiki practitioner. And I work with both private and corporate clients through these modalities. So in the last session, we went through a couple of different definitions as to what mindfulness is. And we came to the conclusion that mindfulness is a moment-to-moment awareness. It's being able to be fully present and having complete awareness of our thoughts, emotions, and experiences. Being able to have these thoughts, emotions, and experiences without judgment, reactivity, or overwhelm. Mindfulness is a state and not a trait, and it's a simple practice, but it just has to be practiced. So let's have a look at what mindfulness in the body is, and as I briefly said already, we're expanding on the previous session where we were connecting to the breath and going through that initial introduction to mindfulness. And this week we'll be looking at how we can bring awareness and presence into the body and listen to our body sensations and cues, and listening to what it's telling us. And this is something that is a really important practice, and I work with clients regularly with on, because a lot of us are disconnected to our bodies. We're running on auto 99% of the time. We wake up, we shower, we go to work, we come home, we eat, we might watch TV, we might do some exercise, and then we go to sleep. And we're doing all of this without really even thinking. It's kind of a routine, but we're on auto drive and autopilot, and one foot steps in front of the other, and before we know it, it's the end of the day. And so we're never really stopping to think about what we're doing or how we're doing it for the most part. And we definitely probably don't really consider how physiologically we're able to do these things. You know, the human body is a really amazing entity. It does all of these things for us without us really thinking about it. We don't think about moving or walking or how to get out of bed. It just happens. We're not thinking about how our heart is beating, or making sure that it's still beating, or digesting food, or various other different body functions. And a lot of us have very limited concepts and understanding of how our bodies actually do these things for us. And we take it for granted, just expecting that it will do what it needs to do. You know, we spend most of our lives at school or at university or in a job and learning things to be able to achieve certain things, and we don't take the time to really ensure that we are giving as much time and investment as we're doing to our perhaps careers, to our actual health of our physical and mental well-being. And when this happens, eventually down the line, you know, some things start to go wrong where we've not been giving it enough care, and we become disconnected to our bodies because where we haven't been given it care or attention, it's become cumbersome to us, and it perhaps doesn't look or feel the way you think it should do, or it's not functioning in the way that you would like it to. So we become detached from it, and we live in our heads, and our body is just kind of like following us behind, and normally feel like it's, you know, 2 steps behind where our heads are. And so we're living from this place where we're taking the body for granted. You know, our body is giving us the ability to see, to hear, to speak, to taste, to move, to carry things, to listen to this video right now. And, you know, internally it's breathing for us, it's pumping blood around the body, it's digesting food, it's storing information that we're learning, it's storing all the DNA information that it's held in our body. It's telling us when we're tired, when we need to wake up, when we're hungry. You know, our body is more intricate and intelligent than anything technology could ever create. There's so many intertwined factors that it's very complex. And so, yeah, question to you, you know, when was the last time that you really took the time to be grateful that you can see, or that you can hear, or you can walk, or that your heart is beating? You know, it got you in front of this screen today. And, you know, that question is just to kind of get us thinking and noticing how we are so living in our heads, thinking about what we need to do, what we need to have, and we're not actually focused on the here and now and what we've got right now. And this practice of gratitude brings us into the present moment. It's one of the most powerful tools to bring us right here, back to the here and now. And, you know, this is where our body lives from. Our body lives from the present moment, and our minds do not. You know, our bodies aren't thinking about what happened yesterday or what might happen tomorrow. It's just dealing with whatever's going on in the body right now, and functioning at its best to deal with what's happening right now. So, for example, if something happened yesterday, or you had an injury yesterday, or you ate something, your body's not thinking and feeling that you wish you hadn't have eaten that, or I shouldn't have run that extra couple of K, and now it's caused my knee to hurt, and now I can't do this at the weekend. You know, it's just focusing on digesting that food or fighting the inflammation in your knee, and it's not caught up in this trail of thoughts about it. And the body grounds us, so that can be through gravity, obviously, through our weight, but it's keeping us connected to the floor and to the ground, when our minds might be living in the clouds, for example, or living in the future, or living in the past. So the practice of grounding actually helps us center our bodies. Humans have we are bioelectrical beings, and we live on this electrical planet. Obviously, the planet has, you know, north and south poles, magnetic fields, and so do we. We have magnetic and energetic fields. So when we are practicing mindfulness and we're in the present, we are centered in our bodies, and we are connected to what's around us. We're connected to the earth, and this is going to give us great benefits for both our health and our happiness. So, embodiment. What do I mean by embodiment? Well, being embodied is about being in tune and in touch and connected with the body. So what I've been talking about is the feeling of how it feels to be in our bodies, how we're moving, and being really curious of the experience of being a body, having a body, and being in a body. You know, here's a fun thing to think about. Have you ever considered what it feels like to have a head? When you think about it, it's quite a strong concept, and just take a second to tune into really what it feels like to have a head. You know, it's quite heavy, It's got limited rotation. It can feel a bit muggy sometimes, all of these things. So it's, and this is kind of the practice of embodiment, and that's a really fun thing to do, is take a piece of your body and think, what does it actually feel like to have this connected to my body? So why is embodiment important? Well, our bodies process experiences through our feelings and emotions, not thoughts. And we'll be going through the idea and talking a bit more about thoughts in future sessions. But our body is processing experience, the here and now, through feelings and emotions, not from our thoughts about what's happening. So we can learn to listen to the triggers to know when we're hungry, in pain, or hot or cold, energized, sad, fatigued. All of these are emotions and physical responses that are processed in the body. And when we are having thoughts about things and about situations or the past or the future, this is kind of getting stuck in the body, because we're not equipped to process these thoughts, especially if they're perhaps negative. And I'll come on to an example in a little bit to try and explain this concept. But essentially, when we are unable to process emotions and feelings in the body, then, or for example a trauma, then these can get stuck in the body and can later form the basis of perhaps some form of illness or disease, because it kind of creates an emotional blockage. And these thoughts and trauma can be toxic to our bodies when they're not dealt with properly. When we ignore certain cues, perhaps they get worse, or maybe they stay hidden for a while, but eventually they come back, and they come back to bite us, basically. And this is a really good example, looking at wild animals, for example. So you may have seen on a nature program where, for example, an antelope is being chased by a lion, and in this story the antelope escapes the lion. The lion's having a bad day, and you might see on these programs where the antelope stands still and it shakes for 10 to 20 minutes, or however long it takes, depending on how deep that trauma is, or how much fight or flight response has been created in their body. And they stand there and they shake, and this is them processing the trauma that's just happened. And then all of a sudden they stop shaking and they run off to the rest of the herd, and they continue eating grass like nothing ever happened. Now this is generally how all animals in the wild process trauma. And this is processing trauma through, and this is how our bodies process emotions and feelings. But as humans, we do not allow ourselves to process like this. We don't stand there shaking. We have this build up of a stress response in the body, and we also have additional thoughts about it, and we are not processing it properly, and so it stores like toxins in the body, and so this is where stress and anxiety is such a major concern for people, because without using tools to manage our stress and manage our anxiety, excess and constant exposure to this creates like this toxin buildup in our bodies, and over time this can manifest into illnesses or different types of problems that you might experience in the body. So practices like breathing or mindfulness techniques or yoga, tai chi, qigong, etc. This is all helping rebalance the body in these mindful ways. So when we become mindful and aware, we can start to listen to the body. We can start to listen to the cues. And when we are in this unmindful state, we're ignoring these cues. So, for example, when we're mindful, we can listen to our body's intuition about when we're hungry, rather than we're eating for comfort, or if we're sad. When we're mindful, if we're in pain or something in our body is painful, we can become aware of it, and we can try and discover what's causing it. Perhaps it's a blocked emotion, or perhaps it's really just a trauma injury from running a half marathon, for example, or you've hit your knee and there's a bruise. It's a very obvious trauma. But when we're unmindful and we're ignoring pain, for example, so maybe we have hurt our knee or our ankle, but we're just it's there's too much going on right now. We can't focus on that. Or perhaps you're having a digestive response, which is very much linked to stress and anxiety. Our second brain, or actually our first brain, is located in the stomach. It creates 90% of all of our serotonin and most of our neurotransmitters, more than our brain does. So normally when we're stressed or anxiety or anxious, then we might be having different bodily reactions, but we just tend to ignore them because we've got other things to think about. And then the build-up of this obviously is unmindful, and it can create further difficulties down the line. So when we live outside of our physicality and we're detached from these things, it becomes difficult for us. And so the practice of mindfulness is what is our body trying to tell us? If there is a pain or there is a reaction, it's usually the body telling us that something's wrong or something needs attention to. And being in body is also a gateway to be able to experience a sense of peace, of joy, and away from our thoughts. So for many people, being in their body or trying to feel connected to their body can actually be quite uncomfortable. And because of this detachment that we've created. And if our body is storing our emotions that we have unprocessed, then we've been conditioned to ignore these emotions, then they're just building and building up, and they're taking us more away from this sense of fulfillment and joy and peace in our life. And when we're really getting into tune with our body and living from the present, we can learn how to feel alive in our bodies. We can start to see them as a gift, not something to poke or prod or judge on a daily basis. And we can learn how to understand what cues the body is giving us. And we're living in harmony and balance with it, rather than it being a burden. Just remember, it got you to where you are today, despite everything that we've perhaps done to our bodies in the past. The late nights, the takeaways, the boozy weekends, cigarettes, all types of things that we've done to our body in the past. But our heart is, is still beating. It's still fighting for us. It's trying to work with us, and we need to want to work with it too, not damage and punish it. And this helps us build emotional and physical resilience, which is something that we're living in a time where it's really important that we've got this. So we'll go into a short guided practice. I realise it's quite a lot of information to take in and process. But it's just an overview as to how sometimes we become disconnected to our bodies, by simply coming back to the breath, as we'll do in this practice, And coming back to our awareness and presence, we can learn to reconnect, and ultimately over time this is going to help us decrease our stress levels, give us an ability to stay grounded in uncertain and difficult times. And this is going to ease the load on our physical and mental well-being, and any associated symptoms that we might be having, like poor sleep, any illness or discomfort. So, guided practice. Today's practice is called the awareness of bodily sensations. And if you can sit comfortably with both feet connected to the floor, sitting tall with your hands resting lightly in your lap, you're welcome to close your eyes or keep your eyes open, whatever feels most comfortable to you. And as you sit here, I want you to become aware of the fact that you are breathing. Feeling the breath as it enters through your nose or your mouth. Noticing how the cool air enters on the inhale and how the air is slightly warmer on the exhale. Notice how you have automatically chosen to breathe, whether it's through your nose or through your mouth. There is no correct way. Just tuning into the fact that you are breathing. Noticing the formation of the breath. How your chest rises and falls with each breath that you take as you inhale and you exhale. Now focus your attention on the expansion and contraction of your rib cage. The rise and the fall of the abdomen. And noticing how other areas of your body are moving in rhythm with your breath. And as you're breathing, what sensations can you notice in the body? Can you feel your heartbeat? Can you feel your pulse? Perhaps you're able to feel the sensations in your hands and your legs or your feet as your heart is pumping blood around your body. And notice as you focus your attention and become aware of your heartbeat or your pulse, that sensation becomes more prominent, more noticeable. Perhaps you can follow the sensation of the pulse through other areas of your body. As I tune in now, I can feel the pulse running through my legs towards my feet, and the blood pumping. Keeping the breath steady to inhale and exhale. Let's explore some other sensations. Now we have become more aware and present in the body. Perhaps you can notice different aspects or different sensations in the body compared to when we first started. Perhaps you can feel some tightness in the chest, a niggling sensation in your hip or your knee. Maybe there is a lump in the back of your throat, or you have some tension across the top of your shoulders. In this moment, we are all having a completely unique experience from one another. Each of our experiences will be unlike anyone else's. We're all unique. We're all individual. And this is the most amazing thing about humans, is that we are all completely individual and unique. And if your mind has begun to wander to thoughts or daydreams, please remember that this is completely natural. This is mindfulness. If you have noticed that your mind is wandering, then you are back in the present moment. You're back in your body, you're grounded, and you're connected. As we breathe, keep playing with the sensations that you can feel, noticing if they're changing. Perhaps try to send the breath to a specific sensation in the body. Often this can change your experience of that sensation when you focus your breath to that area. Sometimes it might get more intense, or maybe it weakens. There's no right or wrong. This is just a simple exploration. Playing around with these different sensations. I also want you to practice letting go. Letting go of particular sensations, but still remaining connected to the body. Try not to get fixated on a particular sensation. This can create a cascade of thoughts, emotions, or reactions in the body. And this is what happens on a daily basis with our thoughts and our beliefs. So this practice is about noticing that there's something there, there's a sensation there, and letting it go. And when you let it go, you are in the present moment, and then something might shift. That sensation or the thought or emotion behind it may shift as well. The practice of letting go is the practice of non-judgment and compassion. Non-judgment of perhaps that our mind has wandered. Non-judgment about that particular sensation, that pain, or the feeling or emotion behind it, or alongside it. If we don't have these, if we are having these thoughts and emotions, then we can remain compassionate towards ourselves, rather than getting frustrated that we are getting caught up in something particular or falling out of the present. Just bring ourselves back, breath by breath, knowing that it's okay, that our mind has wandered, or that we're focused on something particular. Just come back to the breath. And if an emotion has arisen, this is also completely normal. Sometimes it can create discomfort or be overwhelming, because we might not realize that there is an emotion stored in the body behind a particular pain or sensation. So just become aware of it and let it pass. No judgment, having compassion. surrendering to the current moment and experience. Keep breathing. Keep coming back to the breath. And as we draw to a close, I just want you to know that you can come back to this practice at any time, any time, any place. And that's the beauty of the practice of mindfulness. You don't need to be anywhere specific or do anything in particular, because we're actually always breathing, and we just need to take a few moments to follow the breath and become aware of it. And follow and tune in and become curious of what our body is telling us through sensations. Get curious as to what the body feels like as you navigate through your day. When you feel hungry, take a moment to be curious of what hunger actually feels like. What does an aching body actually feel like, other than these automatic thoughts that we attach to these situations? You may be surprised at what you uncover. So bringing the practice to a close, and just quickly taking a quick check-in and scan and see if you can notice how the rhythm in your breath has maybe changed, or how you feel in your body, if that has changed since the beginning of this practice. Hoping that everyone is feeling a lot more connected to their bodies than at the start of the practice. So just remembering that mindfulness is a practice of awareness. We can always reach awareness through the breath, and we can explore our experience and the sensations through curiosity. And if we'd never experienced them before, or we've never been somewhere before or done something before, because in this moment, we're all, in every new moment, we're always having a brand new experience to how we've never experienced it before. No two moments are ever the same. So just some quick exercises that you can use at home to keep your mindfulness practice going until next week's session. So we can come back to last week's breath practice. We just keep coming back to the practice of the simple breath. And you notice if you're holding your breath, perhaps when you're concentrated, or when you're upset, or perhaps your breath gets quicker. So just noticing at different times of the day where your breath is, or if you're feeling slightly stressed or confused about something, you don't know what to do, just take a minute or so to tune into the breath and come back into balance. You can obviously do this with your pulse as well, finding your pulse or your heartbeat in your body, counting to the rhythm, and doing the body scan method, which we've just done. So as you move the breath down your body and into particular areas, for example, what can you notice? What sensations are recurring? Perhaps there are emotions arising at the same time. Just acknowledging them, letting them go, and continuing to follow that breath. And you might experience where or find some answers as to perhaps where some tightness is happening, for example in your shoulders or your chest, or perhaps you're feeling restless. And if you're practicing with this method, or any of the methods, then it really gives you the opportunity to check in and say, what is happening? Why is my body reacting in this way? Why is my breath shortening? What is triggering me in this moment? So I hope you have fun with those this week, and I look forward to seeing you at the next session. As always, if you feel like you want to get in contact with me to ask me any questions about what we've been through today, then my contact details are on the slide, and I look forward to seeing you soon. Thank you very much. Take care.